Nietzsche's Übermensch versus Bible's Nephilim beyond gods and men. Dear viewer, the human imagination has always been obsessed with grander-than-life beings who transcend our limitations, whether through divine intervention, supernatural ancestry, or sheer force of will. Two such figures stand out in stark contrast, including Friedrich Nietzsche's Übermensch, the profoundly self-awareness, self-fashioned sovereign of secular transcendence, and the Bible's Nephilim, those enigmatic half-divine hybrids whose very existence seem to invite apocalyptic retribution. One represents humanity's audacious leap beyond itself. The other serves as a divine warning against overreach. To compare them is to witness a cosmic wrestling match between rebellion and restraint, between man's aspiration to become godlike and the god's stern reminders of mortal limits. Let's delve in more deeply. Warning: this video may contain traces of pretentious vocabulary, meandering metaphors, intentional alliteration, and a sleep-inducing monotone narration. You're welcome. Part 1. Origins and Ancestry, Bloodlines versus Willpower. Let us focus our perspective, dear viewer, and plunge into the primeval pages and cryptic verses of the Hebrew Bible, Genesis 6:1-4, which suggests a shocking mingling of divine and mortal realms. The angelic sons of God, Bene Elohim, take daughters of men as human wives, producing offspring who become the mighty men of old, the men of renown. These hybrid Nephilim beings represent the ultimate celestial scandal, a forbidden fusion of divine and mortal realms that upend the natural order. Their origin is one of transgression, a crossing of boundaries that should never have been breached. Jewish tradition offers various interpretations of these mysterious figures. The Book of Enoch, 1 Enoch 6:11, elaborates them as the monstrous progeny of fallen angels. These giants and warriors ravage the earth, contributing to its moral decay, until God intervenes with the great flood. The Septuagint translation renders Nephilim as giants, while later rabbinic literature describes them as outcast, arrogant tyrants. Whatever their precise nature, they embody the dangers of uncontrolled divine-human interaction. Friedrich Nietzsche, the flamboyant philosopher with the fiercely formidable moustache, bequeathed to the world the notion of the Übermensch, overman. Nietzsche's Übermensch, by contrast to the Nephilim, has no divine lineage of which to boast. This figure emerges from the philosopher's radical reimagining of human potential in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, 1883. The Übermensch isn't born. We can forge it ourselves through relentless self-overcoming. Emerging from the philosopher's ruthless critique of religion and morality, the Übermensch is humanity's answer to the death of God. Where the Nephilim are accidental abominations who inherit their power, the Übermensch creates it through sheer force of will, unshackled from herd morality. This distinction is crucial. One is a product of heavenly indiscretion and the other, a masterpiece of human audacity. Part 2. Nature and Characteristics, Imposed versus Achieved Greatness. The Nephilim's power is innate, a birthright bestowed by their supernatural ancestry. Their strength is not earned but inherited, making them less protagonists of their own story and more catalysts for divine wrath. They are the ultimate "what were the gods thinking" experiment, a reminder that some lines were never meant to be crossed. Ancient texts describe them primarily in terms of what they are, giants, warriors, hybrids, rather than what they do. The Book of Numbers 13:32-33 later describes the Nephilim as making the Israelite spies feel like grasshoppers, emphasizing their overwhelming physical presence. The Übermensch's greatness is precisely the opposite. It is active, dynamic, and self-created. This force of nature does not wait for permission to rewrite the rules. This is a being who takes power, who hammers values into existence. The Übermensch is Nietzsche's philosophical Molotov cocktail, thrown into the complacent crowds of conventional morality. Nietzsche's vision is one of relentless self-overcoming, or in Finnish sisu, with no angels, no commandments, no inherited glory. The Übermensch laughs at the idea of divine favour because they recognise that all meaning is self-made. Where the Nephilim are bound by their origins, the Übermensch is liberated by the absence of any. So far, dear viewer, we've been talking about the Übermensch and the Nephilim as disparate entities, one rooted in philosophy and the other in biblical lore. However, upon closer inspection, it becomes apparent that both concepts are grappling with similar questions about human potential, morality, and the nature of existence. Both represent a quest for transcendence, albeit through different means. Part 3. Theological and philosophical implications. The Nephilim narrative serves several theological functions, including establishing clear boundaries between divine and human realms and demonstrating the catastrophic consequences of violating these boundaries. Their story is steeped in moral judgment. Their existence is framed as a corruption, a violation so severe that it demands cosmic housecleaning. Nietzsche's Übermensch would find this entire framework absurd. For Nietzsche, morality is not handed down from on high, but crafted by those strong enough to impose their will. The Übermensch does not ask whether an act is good or evil in some absolute sense, but whether it serves their own self-created values. This contrast reveals fundamentally different views of authority. The biblical account presents a top-down universe where order must be maintained by divine decree. Nietzsche offers a bottom-up vision where individuals create their own meaning. Part 4. Cultural impact and legacy. The Nephilim have left behind a legacy of destruction. Whether they perished in the flood or lingered as the fearsome giants of Canaanite lore, their story is one of divine disapproval. They have left their mark on Western culture in fascinating ways, including appearing as antagonists in numerous apocalyptic works. Modern conspiracy theories imagine them as ancient astronauts or secret rulers. They've inspired countless fantasy novels. Stephen King's The Dark Tower series and Cassandra Clare's The Mortal Instruments series, and video game villains, Darksiders and Diablo series. And their story continues to fuel debates about divine human relations. The Übermensch, by contrast, leaves behind a challenge. Nietzsche's vision is not a closed myth, but an open invitation, a call for humanity to stop waiting for salvation and start seizing its own destiny. The Übermensch's influence has been equally profound, but markedly different. It has inspired modernist art and literature. Hermann Hesse's Steppenwolf and George Bernard Shaw's Man and Superman in the celebration of human potential. It has fueled existentialist philosophy's focus on authenticity. It continues to shape transhumanist visions of human enhancement. Part 5. Modern resonances, ancient concepts in contemporary debates. The Nephilim and the Übermensch speak powerfully to current discussions about human enhancement and an artificial intelligence. The Nephilim narrative warns of the dangers when creation outpaces the creator. Many modern ethicists echo this caution, urging restraint in genetic engineering and AI development. Nietzsche's vision, conversely, anticipates and arguably inspires today's transhumanist movement. Figures like Ray Kurzweil echo the Übermensch's call for radical self-overcoming through technology. The Silicon Valley ethos of moving fast and breaking things owes much to Nietzsche's celebration of boundary pushing. Part 6. Two visions of transcendence. Ultimately, both the Nephilim and Übermensch speak to humanity's persistent longing to transcend its limitations. The Nephilim and Übermensch are both titans, yes, but giants of vastly different territories. One is the titan of the tantalizing terrain of philosophical aspiration, the other the towering, often troubling landscape of ancient lore. The Übermensch's power is directed inward towards self-mastery and creative expression, disregarding dogmatic doctrine. The Nephilim's power, as often depicted, can be wielded externally with destructive consequences. If this were a cosmic wrestling match, the Übermensch would stride into the ring, glance at the Nephilim's divine pedigree and shrug. Nice heritage, he might say, but can you reinvent yourself? The Nephilim, for all their might, are trapped in their origin story, a tale of divine missteps and heavenly cleanup. The Übermensch, unburdened by such baggage, steps over their fallen forms and keeps walking with head up. The lesson: transcendence is not about where you come from, it's about where you're going.